Tommy sent around that Jason Mraz. We already did that before.
What's the name of it?
Um, Look for the good in everything.
I think so.
Reggae style. Look for the good in
Yeah.
everything. We did it
Uh huh.
here.
So, so we come together on Sundays and we pray together and we affirm together and we sing together. Sometimes we dance together, and we just develop refocus all our energy, all that energy that we all have, and we try to combine it all together into this one massive positive energy, so that we can send it out to the world, because the world is in need of a lot of positive energy. And there's a lot of people doing that work, and more. And that makes us optimistic about where humanity and on this planet is going. And you know, I mean, we've all heard stories that, explanations that's what we're here to do, to bring light to this planet and just change the frequency. And it does work. It takes time, but we're working on it. So I'm glad you're here this morning, and I'd like for you to join me this morning on our mission statement. We are a thriving spiritual community, inspiring and empowering individual and global transformation as exemplified by the life and the teachings of Jesus. Once again, welcome to Unity Spiritual Center, Georgetown, a spiritual breath of fresh air. Our announcements.
Good morning. Good morning. If you are here for the first time, we'd like to give you a special welcome. So if you're comfortable doing so, could you stand and give us your name and where you're from? Okay. Yes, we are. All right, well, let's get metaphysical discussion group with Reverend Tommy. Meets on Wednesdays at 10 a.m. at Legacy Hills Park across the street. But right now, due to the weather, March these for us together. Next Sunday is a Sun City Dulcimers concert here in Sun City with donations accepted at the admission. Now, special announcement. We will not be meeting here at the Oaks for the next 2 Sundays.
So, Southern Baptist Church. So they go to dinner, and he starts up, Madeline, would you like a glass of wine? Oh my goodness, what would I tell my Sunday school class? He said, uh-oh, this isn't gonna go well. So they did have dinner, and after they finished up,
Today's daily word is acceptance. And the affirmation is, I practice acceptance and find peace. The inspiration, I have learned to trade resistance for acceptance. Accepting situations as they are doesn't mean I like what's happening. But it does mean I'm willing to be present to it without resistance or struggle. From that place, I'm better able to work toward creating better conditions for myself and others. When I practice acceptance, I invite the presence of God to inspire and comfort me. I shift my attention
It's in every one of us to be free. Find your heart, open your eyes and see. We can all know everything without ever knowing how. It's in every one of us here and now. It's in every one of us here and now.
Now it's time for our community prayer. Today, February 18th, is the first Sunday of Lent. Lent honors the 40 days Jesus spent in the desert wilderness prior to his ministry. During that time, Jesus faced temptations that challenged his trust in himself. Jesus fought a battle within himself between his ego and will. Jesus chose to let go of human ego and to trust the divine power within him. Let us think of Lent as the perfect time to begin the work needed to let go of any obstacles that stop us from becoming fully present within our Christ consciousness. Let us close our eyes, take a deep breath, and connect to the divine power within.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Thank you, Tom. I'm going to talk about our Christ presence and how we can connect to that. And my words are inspired by Joel Goldsmith. Let us take a deep breath and release all thoughts and tensions we have accumulated so far today. For our spiritual practice, I want to discuss releasing or letting go. Earlier today, I spoke about Jesus' struggles with himself and the choices he made. How can we emulate Jesus' example in our daily lives? We face temptations every day. We know that it is a challenge to release our fears, our beliefs, and other harmful habits. Letting go means being willing to release one's attachments to past events and future hopes and live in the present moment. Letting go does not mean forcing yourself to get over something horrible or making yourself forget what happened. Instead, letting go is a process of surrendering limiting and painful beliefs. How do we develop this ability to let go, move forward, and create change? What about accepting the fact that we need to make a change? It takes fortitude and motivation to accept what is, especially when you don't like it. Try to work with the circumstances you find yourself in, instead of resisting them. You can use the resources at your disposal, both inner and outer, to alleviate, to heal, and to change what can be changed. Within each of us exists the divine potential to access this magical power to change. Take time to appreciate all the blessings in your life. Doing this will help you maintain a cheerful outlook, and it will also help alter your perspective about life. Find time to remind yourself that you are exactly where you need to be, and you will get to where you want to be.
There's a God somewhere.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Jim. I was thinking, as I was sitting back there meditating those 2 minutes, I feel really blessed to have grown up a Catholic. I really do, because from my Catholic period to my unity period is such a vast contrast, and yet the subject matter is essentially the same, but it's a different point of view. And I'm grateful for that, actually. And Lent in particular brings all these to mind because, when we were growing up Catholic, it's like, okay, so what are you going to give up this year? And I was like, candy was a big one. Chocolate, good luck with chocolate. So I'm reminded of that time. So last Wednesday began the Lent season in the Christian calendar. And as we know, Unity's early theological influence was that of Christianity, primarily because Unity co-founder Myrtle Fillmore was a very devout Methodist. And additionally, Christianity was a predominant view in America in those days, and it still is, although it is fading. It really is. But that, in addition to that, all the various other influences that we talk about all the time, of the time period, the scientific revolution, transcendentalism, and Charles Fillmore being a very curious man, and having been well-read when he grew up because he was taught by a lady. I remember the story, his friend had a mom who was homeschooling him, and so he had an injury, and so he asked the guy, we think your mom will homeschool me? And he said, yeah, why not? And so she was a young Army lieutenant's wife or something, and so she was very well versed in things, and she introduced him to all these things at a young age. So it was very interesting, and all of that helped in developing a more encompassing point of view, which became Unity. One that we like to think is from a higher perspective in a way. And the Lenten season is a beautiful example of that. It's a different view, which is consistent with our view and our approach to interpreting Christian concepts. Every year, Unity publishes a little booklet, which we have some today. And the booklet this year is called Let Go, Let God, hopefully you picked one up, and if you haven't, there's a little bit of that, along with some other things today. Because I thought that really the idea of feasting really says a lot about how we see things. So before that, let me give you a little history about Lent so you'll be well versed in these things. Because, you know, I'm very curious and I like to find out where things came from. And this is, what am I trying to say here? Let me see. In unity, we see Jesus as the great example, not the great exception. And that all helps in our understanding of our oneness in all things. So let's talk about Lent. Lent, you know, it's not in the Bible. It's not. It's a church. The church made it up. It's a total church thing. But from the foreword of the book to Keeping a True Lent by Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore comes this. He says, it is commonly believed that the Lenten period has to do with the 40 days preceding the resurrection. This is an erroneous idea. Lent is a church institution, and there is no authorization for it anywhere in the New Testament. And he continues, however, it has sound spiritual basis. He says Moses, Elijah, and Jesus all set a precedent for it. Each observed a 40-day period of prayer and fasting as preparation to begin spiritual work. They all did it. Moses received the 10 Commandments at the conclusion of his fast. Elijah talked to God on Mount Horeb at the conclusion of a period of prayer and fasting. And Jesus began his great ministry at the close of his fast in the wilderness. When I searched about the practice of Lent, I found this. Ash Wednesday is a practice which uses symbolism of putting ashes on our foreheads as a reminder of our unworthiness, sinfulness, and need for redemption. A reminder. Don't want you to forget who you are. A sinner. Of Easter season is the idea that we, during our human experience, we experience crucifixions and resurrections all the time. Now, some of them are small. You know, maybe you got fired from a job. I mean, it's not real small, but it's, you know, relatively speaking, you're not on the cross. And so that being fired from a job would be a crucifixion of sorts. And then all of a sudden you find this new job that really click and delete, get rid of it. So in doing some research, I came across this marvelous way of seeing Lent that I want to share with you. It begins, as I said earlier, there are 2 ways to move through the Lenten season, fasting and feasting. Both are legitimate expressions of spiritual growth. As a matter of fact, from a spiritual perspective, they are both necessary. Spiritually speaking, now this is key to everything. Spiritually speaking, well, as far as the unity interpretation, there is only one kind of fasting. Abstaining from error thoughts, choices, and actions that dampen the awareness of our oneness with Spirit. That is the abstinence that we seek in unity. The diet coming around to a new way of seeing things. Because Pope Francis is a special guy. And he wrote this. He said, do you want to fast this year? He says, fast from hurting words and say kind words. Fast from sadness and be filled with gratitude. Fast from anger and be filled with patience. Fast from pessimism and be filled with hope. Fast from worry and have trust in God. Fast from complaints and contemplate simplicity. Fast from pressures and be prayerful. Fast from bitterness and fill your heart with joy. Fast from selfishness and be compassionate to others. Fast from grudges and be reconciled. Fast from the words and be silent so that you can listen. Those were the words of Pope Francis. So next time anything comes along, thoughts, actions that are clearly not of God, and you know them, you recognize them, they're not that hard to recognize anymore. Well, fast from the feeling and feast in the glory and the bounty that is Spirit. And that's the message for Lent for today. That in the end, it all fades away except God.
There was something in the desert. There was someplace wild and green, and a child in a village.
And all I give and all that I receive, I give in love and I trust God.
Everything I see, everything I do is blessed by your hand, God. I give it back to you. Everything I give, every thought that's true, magnified and kind, God, I'll give it back to
Join me in our offering dedication. We bless and dedicate these tithes and offerings as an expression of divine love, and we release them to manifest that love in our community and in our world. And we always bless the children of the world. We love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the Christ you are. Final announcements. Jill is our prayer